Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We have a bang-up show for you tonight. Please go ahead and get something nice to drink, preferably something non-alcoholic, because what we have to show you tonight is important. You're going to want to remember this program for years to come. You're going to want to know this program inside and out because your very survival may depend on it. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but I want to let you know what's going on. You deserve to know the truth about what is happening. You're going to want to remember to people that live in and around Southern California, especially guys, and I couldn't say that any stronger than I'm saying it right now. You need to understand what is happening. Your very survival may depend on it. Now, I talked about this earlier this morning in what was supposed to be members only broadcast, but YouTube screwed that up. YouTube made it a public broadcast, which is just fine. That's just fine. But I would have rather had it a members only broadcast because I believe in giving you everything that you came here for. I believe you want to hear what's going on, and I'm here to tell you about it. Hook, line, and sinker. The first thing I want to talk about tonight before we get started is I want to thank everybody for being here. Prior to us coming on this program this afternoon, we had at least 6,993 subscribers. 6,993 subscribers. Folks, they have deleted 6 subscribers. We should have all but 7,000 subscribers here in our program tonight. But again, YouTube doesn't like us. YouTube has been subverting this program since day one. We've been on the air on this channel 2.5 years, but prior to that, we've been on the air for 4.5 years. Within a matter of weeks, we were at 2,000 subscribers. Within a matter of weeks after we started this program, the first channel, we had over 2,000 subscribers. Now we're just getting to 7,000. Yes, we've come a long way. But again, YouTube is unsubscribing people. I don't know what to say. I'm dissuaded by YouTube. I'm disgusted by what they do. They don't want us to tell the truth. And if you tell the truth, they try to hide it. Our first channel went down. Because they didn't like what we were saying. And yet everything we said was the truth. Everything we brought forth was truth. And yet they didn't want us to talk about it. Heaven forbid. Heaven forbid we told the truth. They didn't like it. They didn't like that at all. I honestly don't give a flying rat's frosty keister what YouTube does or does not like. That's why we started another channel almost immediately after they took our last channel down. They didn't like us using the word, I'm sorry, I didn't have the microphone right in front of me, for those of you that have had a hard time hearing me. They didn't like us talking about COVID. They didn't like us using the word the jab. They didn't like us using the word vaccine. They didn't want it. Why? Because, folks, because the present administration under Biden didn't want anybody talking about it. They did not want anybody to talk about COVID. They didn't want anybody talking about the jab. Well, dadgummit. If you can't talk about the truth on YouTube, what can you do? What can you do? Lie to the people? Lie to the people? Is this what YouTube is wanting us to lie to the people? Not to tell the truth? I'm telling you guys, this is bad. Sayla's here in the chat. I want to say welcome here to the chat before Sayla. I have not seen you before. Please, though, all of you that are new to this channel, please subscribe to this channel. Subscribe, and when you see the subscription come up, there's a little bell icon, little tiny bell icon. Click on that. When you click on that, there will be a drop-down menu of 3 items come up. Click on the word ALL, all. That should get you notified when we come on the air. Okay? But be advised. Again, YouTube does not like us. YouTube does not always tell anybody when we come on the air. So I'm going to tell you this. We used to come on the air after 6 p.m. Eastern Time. We now try to come on the air sometime after 4 p.m. And yes, I understand we're a little bit late. I had some pending news that I wanted to bring to you tonight. So I came on the air just a little bit late, compiling that news to talk to you about. Now, let me take off this air. I don't need that tonight. But folks, we come on the air for you, each one of you. Why? Because I want you to know the truth of what's happening. That's been our main goal since day one. Talk the truth. Let everybody know what's happening. Also, friends and neighbors and family members, I would ask you also to check out the scrolling pieces beneath, at the bottom, not beneath, but at the bottom of your screen tonight. Notice we have PayPal and Venmo. I understand Venmo doesn't work. I'm going to try to fix that the next day or so. But our PayPal does. If you want to help support this program, you can go through PayPal to do it. Also below that, you see our email address below that, rltnspdema at gmail.com. You can send us criticism, you can send us comments, or even ideas on what you want to see on this program. We will take those into account and we'll come up on the air with that information. You'll also see our mailing address, 504 Bethel Road, Box 401. Morganton, North Carolina. The zip code here is 28655. You can send a check or even cash inside a letter. Don't just put it in an envelope and close it in a letter or a card. Tell us how you're feeling. Tell us what you'd like to see on this program, and also explain to us what you are doing to prepare for emergencies and disasters. We want to know that. We want to help everybody also prepare. Maybe some of your ideas can be shared with our friends and family here on our EMA network. We want that information to get out. Now, we have a lot of stuff that's going on. All kinds of things are going on around us. Okay? The first thing I want to talk about is news today. It started last night. Thanks to our sitting Director of Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. Thanks to the sitting Director of Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. Yesterday, she released hundreds of declassified pages of documents implicating former President Barack Obama, aka Barry Soetoro, heading up a committee of his cronies to attempt to assassinate President Trump in 2016. Now the President Congressional Intelligence Committee is so screwed, Republicans and Democrats alike. For years now, the Democrats and some of the Republicans have promoted the fact that President Trump is an evil devil, and they wanted him in jail, or in the case of Barack Hussein Obama, aka Barry Soetoro, concocting a plan, an idea to assassinate then newly elected President Donald Trump. He also concocted the plan to take him out, to remove him from the presidency. Twice, President Trump was impeached because of Barry Soetoro and Hillary Clinton. Now Barack Hussein Obama, aka Barry Soetoro, the Kenyan-born person that he refused to have vetted. He said he was a U.S. citizen born in Hawaii, never born there. Never born there at all. He's born in Kenya. According to U.S. rules and regulations and legislation, a United States president must be U.S. born and bred, not a foreign-born citizen. Barack Obama was not a U.S. citizen at all when he was born here. He was born in Kenya. He perpetuated a fraud, concocting the idea that he was born in Hawaii. And his administration was telling everybody on YouTube or other social media that, hey, he was a U.S. born citizen. And anybody said otherwise was slapped upside the head. Yeah. Huge fraud. Huge fraud. And when the United States legislature in Congress tried to investigate it, they were stonewalled. They were stonewalled because he wanted to wrap the presidency around himself. He wanted to wrap the presidency around himself to destroy this country, to make sure that the United States of America failed. Fact. Now there are over 100 newly released pages, documents that prove that Barack Hussein Obama was not just a non-U.S. citizen, but, meaning he wasn't born here, but he also committed fraud, putting up blinds so people wouldn't be able to find information. He got director of the FBI to go along with it, covering it up. Now those people are in jeopardy. Those people are in jeopardy. They're being investigated, not just by Congress, but by the FBI. Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are going after them. And right now I'm surprised that the FBI has not arrested Barry Soetoro for fraud and treason. Barry Soetoro, former director of the FBI Comey, John Brennan, Hillary and Bill Clinton have been referred to the Justice Department for prosecution. Yeah. That means former FBI Director James Comey, CIA Director John Brennan, Bill and Hillary Clinton, and all the rest of the Obama administration are under investigation for fraud and treason, under the scrutiny of not only the Justice Department, but the entire United States Congress. The Democrats wanted to whitewash the information, throw it under the rug. But guess what? Now it's open to the public. And anybody trying to overthrow this country, including that idiot that's running for mayor in New York, are going to find themselves facing scrutiny and possibly being thrown out of the United States of America. It's all coming to a head now. It's all coming to a head. Now, I want to get down to basic rocks and stones of what we're going to talk about tonight. The San Andreas Fault. We talked about this some this morning. I showed you pictures or slides of seismograms. Seismograms are just graphs from a seismograph showing the earthquakes that are happening or that have happened. I showed you those this morning and they're continuing going on. But what I'm saying is this. The San Andreas Fault is in danger of eliciting the most dangerous earthquake in the United States or world history. Again, I'm going to repeat that. The San Andreas Fault is in danger of eliciting the most dangerous earthquake in the United States history or world history. I'm going to substantiate that tonight. I would hope that you all would pay attention. Take notes even, because your friends and mine, your family and mine also live over there. Great extents of the population, millions of people, live up and down the fault in Southern California. Yes, the fault could also go just east of Santa Barbara. Could also go up near San Francisco. But right now, the Southern California San Andreas Fault is in danger of popping, literally. I've been talking about this for quite some time. The photographs you see here are pictures, Southern California pictures of the San Andreas Fault. The United States Geological Survey, the USGS, has issued a red alert following the discovery of a major crack emerging along the San Andreas Fault, which is one of the world's most dangerous seismic zones. Experts now believe that the fissure is on the verge of a catastrophic pop, with the potential of many disastrous ramifications for millions of people throughout Southern California. Today, we're going to take a look at the most recent data, satellite imaging that you're seeing right here. And I'm going to give you expert analysis of what's going on. I wasn't able to get hold of a seismologist to interview today, but hopefully very soon we'll have a seismologist here to talk about what is going on. Now, the San Andreas Fault has not had a major substantial event in over 300 years. The San Andreas Fault, which has been long overdue for a large rupture, is exhibiting indications of a severe stress. I showed some of those pictures, those slides to you this morning. Earthquakes happening on the San Andreas Fault in Southern California. And the rapid movement. By rapid movement, I'm talking about earthquake upon earthquake. I showed you those things this morning. Earthquake after earthquake on the San Andreas Fault. And even thermal activity. Yes, thermal activity. Why? We've talked about this before. Magma goes underneath rivers, doesn't it? We have magma channels following rivers, don't we? We've talked about this. Magma is flowing underneath these earthquake faults. Okay? The fault is long overdue for rupture. We have thermal activity caused by magma beneath the fault. The earthquakes are deep. Some of them are shallow, some of them are deep. The ones I showed you today are shallow earthquakes. Everything that I'm going to show you tonight is evidence of a potentially imminent megaquake along the San Andreas Fault in Southern California. Now, how does this affect Los Angeles, San Francisco, and the entire West Coast? We're going to discuss this tonight. Scientists have announced that the San Andreas Fault is long overdue for another major quake. A sudden surge of activity along the San Andreas Fault has captured the full attention of geologists, scientists, and emergency response authorities after the USGS came out with a rare, alarming red alert. Again, this alert comes in the wake of the discovery of a rapidly widening crack near the volatile segment of the fault, indicating a critical level of geological instability. This development has sent shockwaves through the scientific community, given the immense potential consequences of such seismic agitation in a fault zone that has long been considered one of the most dangerous in North America. Before we continue, I would ask that you smash the like button and also, again, subscribe to our channel. That way you'll get further updates of what's going on regarding this and other events that we talk about. The San Andreas Fault stretches approximately 800 miles through California, forming the boundary between the Pacific coast on the western side and the North American plate, two tectonic plates, two separate and distinct tectonic plates, the Pacific plate subducting underneath the North American fault, the North American plate. The Pacific plate subducting underneath the North American plate. We've been talking about this for a long time. The San Andreas Fault is known for its notorious seismic history, having produced some of the most devastating earthquakes in U.S. history. Scientists and residents throughout the region are preparing and waiting for this major event to happen. With USGS Red Alert, the highest level of warning in the system, their focus has intensified on the section of the fault that has begun showing highly unusual behavior. Satellite imaging, ground sensors, deep earthquake probes have all confirmed significant shifts in the Earth's crust. Satellite ground penetrating radar have found these significant shifts in the Earth's crust, particularly around the fault's southern segment, which has not released a major earthquake in over 300 years. This anomaly is now showing clear signs of critical stress accumulation. The crack itself you see here, spanning several meters in width in some locations, has been expanding at an unprecedented rate, accompanied also by ground uplift. We explained this last night. We've explained it before. When the Pacific plate goes up underneath the North American fault, it causes the fault to uplift like this. It's called mountain building. Okay? Ground uplift. Unprecedented rate accompanied by ground uplift. And gas emissions that we'll talk about in a few minutes. And hundreds, if not thousands, of microquake seismic swarms, as well as tremors, minor earthquakes, and regular 3.0 and large earthquakes that we've seen in Southern California. The largest in recent years was a 5.5 in the Imperial Valley. It was felt, they say it was a 5.5 in the Imperial Valley. It was probably larger than that. It was felt all the way up into Los Angeles. You don't get large earthquakes like that. They're felt long distances like that, unless they're large earthquakes. I believe that 5.5 was probably 6.5, 7.0. Again, the USGS has been known to hide earthquakes. They've been known to lie about the intensity of the quakes. All of these swarms, all of the gas emissions, all of the ground uplift are precursors of major tectonic movement. The concern lies in the fact that the San Andreas Fault, being a strike-slip fault like this, is already under constant pressure. The sudden shift in geological behavior suggests that the fault is reaching a breaking point. This isn't just about a surface rupture. This is just not about a surface rupture. This is about the potential for a full-scale rupture deep beneath the surface, which could release immense energy accumulated over centuries. We're talking tons of energy. We're talking about tons of TNT, or like a nuclear bomb on the San Andreas Fault. Advanced geological modeling has been employed to simulate the fault's behavior, and the results have been chilling. The results suggest that the energy currently trapped along the stress zone of the fault is equivalent to hundreds of Hiroshima-level detonations. Let me repeat that so you'll understand. That the energy currently trapped along the stress zone of the San Andreas Fault is equivalent to hundreds of Hiroshima-level detonations. Think about that. That's what's going to happen when that fault releases again. There's immense pressure there. Immense pressure. All the scientific models cannot predict the exact moment of rupture, unfortunately. The indicators are clear that it's going to happen. A major seismic event that is imminent, unless pressure is somehow diffused. Unlike volcanic activity, where magma is vented or redirected, the San Andreas Fault offers no release mechanisms. The San Andreas Fault has no release mechanisms. The energy is built up and locked in place. The plates will continue to grind until one abruptly lurches forward, unleashing devastation. The USGS Red Alert is not merely a theoretical forecast. It represents a confluence of observable data points that signal a rare geological alignment. Ground deformation that you see in this photograph has been alerted, observed, and has accelerated. With GPS stations across the fault that we show you this morning. GPS stations that are showing the relative seismic activity. Small 3.0 large earthquakes. And in some cases, such as Bombay Beach, over on the eastern side of the Salton Sea. 3.5, 4.0 earthquakes on the San Andreas Fault. Those seismic signals have accelerated and got larger. The GPS stations across the fault are showing abnormal horizontal and vertical shifts. Horizontal and vertical shifts. These are not slow or gradual. They are abrupt enough to trigger automatic shutdown or shut-off systems on infrastructure networks. The seismic signals are abrupt enough and strong enough to trigger automatic shut-offs of systems of the infrastructure network. Bridges, tunnels, pipelines built near the fault, aqueducts built on the fault that are out there in the desert. The pipelines, the tunnels, the bridges, and the aqueducts have already begun to undergo precautionary responses. Engineers understand that even the most robust design specifications are only estimates when faced with nature's full force. Beyond the realm of geophysics, the implications ripple across our society in profound ways. California has been home to tens of millions of people, hundreds of millions of people, and one of the largest economies in the world rests precariously along the fault line. Rupture here would not be a localized disaster. It would have cascading effects through national and global markets, ports, data centers, financial districts, critical logistics chains that lie in the path of potential devastation. I show you this morning earthquakes over in Long Beach. I've shown you this morning earthquakes throughout Los Angeles. I've shown you earthquakes down in the Imperial Valley. The psychological impact of such a red alert is already evident in the heightened public anxiety and the media scrutiny. The tangible risks are even more pressing. Critical infrastructure, large buildings all over Southern California, Santa Barbara, Los Angeles, and San Diego. Ports, the Port of San Diego, the Port of Long Beach, and other ports in Los Angeles. Water reservoirs, electrical substations, communication networks up and down the fault are especially vulnerable. The San Andreas Fault runs perilously close to key aqueducts, aquifers, and power transmission corridors. And a rupture on the San Andreas Fault would not just damage the lines themselves, but also the terrain supporting them. The terrain supporting those aqueducts, the transmission power lines, would not just damage the lines themselves, but everything around them. That would take hundreds of years to replace. It took hundreds of years putting them in place. It would take hundreds of years to replace those infrastructure places. Doing so would collapse the infrastructure and could paralyze emergency response efforts all over Southern California. Thousands of miles of highways, trapping communities without power or access to vital services. The timing of this red alert has also raised alarms in meteorological circles. Southern California has experienced wetter weather than average this past year or so, resulting in higher groundwater saturation. What does that mean? Higher groundwater saturations. What does it mean? Quicksand. Quicksand. Okay? We talked about this before as well. This softens the surrounding soils and increases the likelihood of landslides, toppled buildings, toppled power lines, the grid as well, compounding the risks posed by seismic activity. The combination of shaking ground and destabilized slopes could lead to catastrophic secondary events like mud flows, dam collapses, especially in mountainous regions near populated zones, such as the Pacific Palisades that burned last year. They had a dam up there. The Governor Newsom, the do-nothing governor, and Mayor Karen Bass, Los Angeles, emptied. This still probably is remaining empty now. When a dam is empty, it could collapse with the shaking. Despite decades of preparation drills, preparedness drills have been all over Southern California, and I've also participated in some of those preparedness drills. The preparedness drills, the public awareness campaigns, and the advanced early warning systems that are in place or being put in place. The unique nature of this red alert has challenged even seasoned experts. Most alerts in the past were short-term. 1989 up in San Francisco. The earthquake along the Hayward Fault collapsed San Francisco infrastructure, collapsed the San Francisco Bay Bridge, fissures opened up in roadways and highways, stranding people on the roads, stranding families from being reunited for weeks. This is the same kind of situation that is going to happen in Southern California. As I said, hundreds of thousands of roads and highways being distressed to the point of enabling or not enabling traffic. This is an accelerated path or pattern of instability. It's not just one indicator going off. It is a systemic cascade of geophysical red flags. It is a systemic cascade of geophysical red flags. I kid you not. I've been studying this for years. I've been trying to put out more and more information over the years about this. And the more information I'm giving you, I'm going to continue to give you. I am not going to hide the information for any reason. None. This cascade of red flag information pointing toward the same conclusion. This level of coordinated evidence from both natural observation and machine learning, predictive systems, has rarely occurred before in the history of our country. In the field of geology, USGS geologists have reported distinct audible hum. A distinct audible hum from certain parts of the fault. Low frequency tremors caused by deep movement between the plates are causing that deep audible hum on the San Andreas Fault. While it's not always detectable to the human ear, these vibrations are captured by advanced seismometers, suggesting that the plates are actively slipping in some areas constantly. potentially redistributing the stress to more volatile segments of the fault. The danger here is a smaller quake in one segment can trigger a more domino effect along advanced or adjacent segments, resulting in a cascading rupture of the fault. A worst-case scenario feared by seismologists. Such a cascading event could start near the Salton Sea, the Salton Sea that we've talked about before. I showed you the Salton Sea this morning. I showed you the earthquakes all around it. The Salton Sea in the Imperial Valley of Southern California. And if that fault goes there, and it could have a cascading effect going north, it could propagate northwest toward the densely populated area of Los Angeles and even beyond. The energy from that quake could transfer to other fault systems. The energy of this quake could transfer to other fault systems in the greater Los Angeles area. There are hundreds of adjacent faults in that area that can trigger up faults in Los Angeles and down in San Diego. We were talking about the Rose Canyon Fault the other day. The Rose Canyon Fault is on the edge of the Newport-Inglewood Fault. When the San Andreas Fault ruptures, the Newport-Inglewood Fault could give way and transfer the energy down the Rose Canyon Fault into San Diego. And the adjacent faults from the Imperial Valley could also trigger faults within San Diego County. A cascading effect. The energy transfer would be so immense that the standard structural defenses would struggle to withstand it. The fault doesn't just rupture in tidy lines. It splinters and radiates and twists, as you see in this picture here. The fault radiates, splinters, and twists. Every variation of local geology influences the direction and the speed of energy transmission. That's what makes modeling of this fault so complex and the danger so unpredictable. In scientific labs and data centers, researchers are working around the clock and have been working around the clock for years now, analyzing new seismic readings that come in real time, up and down the entire fault, from north to south, from Northern California down into even Mexico. Yes, folks, the San Andreas Fault transfers through California all the way into northern Mexico, and then down the ocean corridor of southern Mexico. Artificial intelligence systems are correlating massive data sets, comparing this event with every known fault line rupture, recorded worldwide. Yes, fault line ruptures worldwide also figure into the equation. These efforts are part of a broader specific mission to not just understand at this moment, but what can happen worldwide and up and down the fault line. The broader implications of an evolving fault system under stress is now being realized. The hope of this scientific investigation is not just to prevent the inevitable. That remains outside of human control, but to gain enough lead time to implement defensive measures that can save lives. That is the entire purpose of this channel, to save lives. That's why we're sharing this information with you. That is exactly why we are sharing this information with you. to try to save your life and the life of your family and your friends. When you disseminate this information and share it everywhere, it helps us get this information out to people that need it to save lives. One of the most unique challenges in this situation is communication. Communication. That's why we're here today. The greater public in California and all over the world relies on clear, consistent messaging. But geological phenomena are inherently uncertain. Geological phenomena are inherently uncertain. It's only recently, within the last 15 or 20 years, that USGS, Caltech, and other organizations have been systematically trying to get more data from just not satellites that they just launched into space, to get more data on the ground. Scientists and officials must walk a fine line between preparation of communities and avoiding panic. Preparation of communities and avoiding panic. Like I said, we don't want to have anybody panic. This information we're giving you tonight is not to scare anyone. But this information tonight is to make you aware of what is going on. Preparation is just part of saving lives. You must need be to have the information within your grasp. That way you know what you need to do to save lives and avoid panic. I will never ever tell you to move. I will never ever tell you to move away from Southern California. Yes, I myself did not want to leave San Diego when I did in April 2000. I said I was never going to leave the beaches because I not just love the beauty of the beaches, I love surfing and playing in the water. But for 3 years before I moved out of San Diego, I never once saw the beach because I was so involved with my work. I couldn't get away. And many other people were in like situations. I got away. I got away for reasons of trying to save my life. Now I'm trying to save yours. The red alert designation that the USGS put up is itself a strong, stark warning, one that demands contextual understanding. It also does not signify when an earthquake will happen tomorrow. We don't know when it will happen. I personally think it will be between now and the end of the summer. It might be longer time than that, but I don't think it will be past 2 years from now. I don't believe it will pass 2 years from now. It does not signify that all available data suggests a rupture. A rupture is highly likely in the near term. That near term could mean hours, days, or weeks. But the uncertainty is this. It is unnerving for many people. In response to the alert, key transportation routes across California have been placed on contingency plans. Critical key transportation routes across California have been placed on contingency plans. Some freight routes are being rerouted. Rail systems have increased automated fault detection intervals. I'm going to repeat that because every time a rail or any time an area, a region experiences any kind of good, solid seismic activity. I'm not talking about a huge, devastating earthquake being good, but seismic energy altering transportation routes, including rails. The railroads have to inspect the rail systems. They have increased automated fault detection systems. That way, if they even think the railroad or roadway is damaged, they will get crews up there to fix it. Even air traffic routes are being reviewed, especially those that depend on navigation and communication towers located within the crucial fault adjacent zones. The crucial fault adjacent zones, not just LAX, not just San Diego International Airport, but the alternative airports as well, the municipal airports in the LA San Diego region. There are hundreds of them. These precautionary steps, while disruptive, are vital to maintaining continuity in the face of possible grid failure or a structural collapse. Meantime, scientists are emphasizing the importance of monitoring secondary fault lines as well. Not just along the San Andreas Fault, but secondary fault lines as well. One of those secondary fault lines could go, and it could trigger the San Andreas. The San Andreas Fault does not exist in isolation. It is part of a complex web of interconnected faults, like the Hayward and the Calaveras outside east of San Francisco Bay, and the Newport Inglewood Fault in Los Angeles. Hundreds of interconnected faults, all up and down the San Andreas. When one segment shifts, it redistributes the pressure across the entire fault system. This can awaken previously dormant faults. That is perhaps the most haunting prospect of all. The idea that this red alert could be not just the harbinger of a single quake, but the catalyst for a chain reaction of seismic activity across the entire state, north to south and east to west, and even past there. How about the idea of an interconnected fault system going up into not just Los Angeles, but out to Las Vegas? Yes, that exists. Earthquakes in Los Angeles have triggered earthquakes in Las Vegas. Preparations of emergency response teams have reached peak levels. Back in about 2015, I was a part of an earthquake preparedness team sent to Los Angeles. We were in the Los Angeles region for 7 days, conducting a disaster drill. We were in San Francisco 7 days as well, conducting another earthquake disaster drill, one that affected downtown San Francisco. The other affected Los Angeles. Buildings collapsed. We simulated other disasters happening at the same time, because if one thing goes, several things could go. And other people could also be part of it. I'm just telling you that. Because it was not just an earthquake drill, but a drill about other things that could be connected to the earthquake or that could happen during the earthquake. Mobile hospitals opened up by the Army Guard. Mobile Army Surgical Hospitals, MASHs, opened up by the National Guard. Why? Because you don't want to bring disease into a brick and mortar hospital. Say somebody has a disease out in the public that you don't want spread to a brick and mortar hospital because it could infect other patients. You take those patients to a mobile Army surgical hospital to be tended to before or during the disaster. That way, people are taken care of as well. They're triaged, depending on the severity of their injuries. They get the best care before, during, and after the earthquake. Mobile hospitals, helicopter landing zones, water purification units, satellite communication stations all been readied and put in strategic locations. Urban search and rescue units are trained to respond to post-quake environments. They're conducting checks and final checks of their gear and resources, almost on a daily basis. These teams may be the first line of response in communities cut off by collapsed roads, fallen trees, fallen bridges, or landslides. The Red Alert has also spurred a wave of academic discussion about long-term tectonic change. Some experts argue that the San Andreas Fault may be entering a new phase of geological activity, one phase that might persist for years or even decades. Think about that. Geological activity that could persist for years or even decades. Picture that. This could involve more frequently moderate earthquakes interspersed with larger, more destructive ones. The implications of urban planning. Think about this. The implications of emergency planning. Architecture. The building of buildings that are seismically strong. And resource management are immense. Cities like San Diego, Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, and San Francisco may need to reimagine their entire infrastructure around more seismically volatile future. Buildings are built now to be seismically strong to withstand earthquakes. We have buildings in San Diego, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Las Vegas, Salt Lake City that have been put on springs to withstand the earthquake changes, to withstand the up and down and sideways movement of the plates. That's what's going on. These major cities must need to reimagine their entire infrastructure around a more seismically volatile future. Let's talk about insurance companies now. Insurance companies. Insurance companies too are recalculating the risk models. They're recalculating the risk models. Earthquake insurance in California has long been a niche product, often expensive, and with limited coverage. Limited coverage. Why? Because even the insurance companies realize that California is on the edge of a disaster. So now they have limited coverage. With this red alert in effect, demand for insurance has surged, and actuarial data is being reprocessed in light of the new threat level. With that, the economic ripple effect is already making itself felt in real estate markets, logistic contracts, and even tourism. Logistic contracts. Who's going to service an area? Who's going to provide oxygen to people that live in Los Angeles, San Francisco, Las Vegas, San Bernardino, Santa Barbara, San Francisco? When or before the earthquake happens, during the earthquake, or after the earthquake hits? Who's going to do it? What is going to be economically possible before, during, and after the earthquake? Tourism will also be affected. Los Angeles, San Diego, to some extent San Bernardino, Bakersfield, Riverside, Santa Barbara, San Francisco, tourist traps, all of them. When this earthquake happens, the cities are going to have to reimagine themselves. Those cities as they stand today won't be the same tomorrow. Tourism's not going to come back for some time. Those companies, those people that relied on tourism, people come there to enjoy themselves and check out the beaches, check out the sun, check out the opportunity, won't be there for a while. This is going to have a great economic effect on the state of California and each and every city throughout the state. With the scientific focus remains on understanding and preparing for the rupture of the fault. The human element of this unfolding event cannot be overlooked. Communities across California are revisiting their emergency kits. We've been talking about emergency preparedness for years, folks. I'm not going to stop. Every individual and every family must have an emergency preparedness kit. Every family and every business must do the same. Every family and every business must have an emergency plan. Your plan must detail right now whatever kind of emergency that your company or your family might be facing. As I said before, if you don't know what emergencies that could happen in your area, go to your fire chief, go to your police chief, call your city and find out if they have an emergency management manager on staff. If so, go see those people. Ask them what emergencies can happen in your region, in your area, in your city, in your county. Then you need to go home. You need to take notes at that meeting, and then you need to go home and write an emergency plan for your business and for your family. Two separate plans. Your family plan should involve every member of your family. Your business plan needs to involve every manager and supervisor in your business. That way, everybody is included. Then once you have those plans written, share them with each and every member of your family. That way, every member of your family knows what's going to happen. And they can help you respond. They can help you prepare for whatever disaster that you're going to face. The same thing goes for your company. Involving your supervisors and your managers in the emergency planning for your company. And then going back through the entire company and sharing that information, making those plans available to every person that works for you. That way they can help you. They can help prepare your company. They can help prepare themselves. That's why we've been talking about this so significantly during the past 6.5 years. We want everybody to be prepared, no matter what. Okay? Kathy Payne, I have no idea what you're talking about. She's talking about some Russian submarine officers that were affected by magma coming into a bay. I've never heard of that before. I've never heard about that before. Folks, please pay attention to what I'm saying. Please don't go off half-cocked about another subject. We're talking about major earthquake here. We're talking about disaster assistance. We're talking about disaster and emergency planning. Please help me here. Please help me. Please stay on topic. Okay? Please stay on topic. Communities, cities, and counties across California are revisiting their emergency kits and their emergency preparedness plans. They're reviewing evacuation plans. They're participating in local preparedness fairs, preparedness drills. This is going to be vital for your safety and the safety of everyone around you. Schools are reinforcing earthquake protocols, and hospitals are cross-checking surge capacity plans. Disaster surge capacity plans. How many people can a hospital take care of during an emergency? This red alert for an earthquake is as much a call to awareness, and it is a technical classification. It reminds everyone that lives up and down the entire fault zone, Southern California to Northern California, that we need to have a balance between modern convenience and ancient unpredictable forces. Modern convenience on one hand and ancient unpredictable forces. This situation is being closely monitored, not just by U.S. agencies, but also by international seismological institutions. The San Andreas Fault is considered a global case study in plate tectonics and seismic behavior. The development of this often gives us informed policies, and even scientific practices worldwide. Charlene is here in the chat saying communities should be publishing evacuation preparedness drills and how they respond to evacuate the stranded, handle the fires and power outages, and yet we hear silence. CNN, Fox News, etc. Why? Why is that? Because the mainstream media is being told not to talk to anybody. The mainstream media is being told not to talk to anybody. That comes from the agency themselves. That's coming from the agency themselves, and maybe even some politicians. As I said, why? Let me briefly explain why. Let's put up an if, when. When this earthquake happens, and it's not if, it's when. When one of these earthquakes happen, whether it's in the Cascadia subduction zone or California, what happens? Many lives will be devastated. Families are going to be separated and destroyed. What happens when that happens? The politicians in those areas are going to be without a job. If people move away before the earthquake or the emergency happens, politicians are going to be without a job. So our politicians want everybody to stay in place for as long as possible. On the other hand, what happens when people move away from the coast, away from these major earthquake faults? Businesses suffer, don't they? Somebody moves away in that county or the city or the town. Who's going to pay taxes? If the people move, businesses also will go broke. They'll close up. No business taxes, no taxes from the public. But those businesses and people are not paying taxes. Who's going to fix the streets? Who's going to keep the lights on in the community? Nobody. The city and the town are going to die. If the city and county, the towns are going to die, then the politicians are going to be without work. That's why the politicians don't want the city, the state, they don't want the community, they don't want the news media to tell what's going on. Heaven forbid. Heaven forbid we hear the word. They don't want us talking about Christ, so why would they want us talking about earthquakes or what's going to happen or emergency preparedness? Yes, folks, I have been stopped. Some of the times I've tried to put on preparedness fairs, I've been stopped because the powers that be don't want the information getting out. Yeah, fact. It's happened so many times, I don't even know how many times it's happened. Happened a lot. I'm trying to be honest with you. I'm trying to get this information out because your lives depend on it. The politicians don't want the information getting out, so they're telling the cities, states, and towns, don't speak about it. They're telling the news media to be quiet. They only talk about it when the politicians allow them to. Fact. Fact. Again, the San Andreas Fault is considered a global case study in plate tectonics and seismic behavior. The developments that this often gives us informs us about policies and scientific practices worldwide and how we are going to handle and address activity in our own areas. The red alert that we've talked about is issued by the USGS. It marks a turning point in how geological threat levels are communicated and acted upon. How the threat levels are communicated and acted upon. It brings with it a sobering realization that despite all of our technological advancements, Earth's fundamental processes remain both majestic, terrifying, and they're unpredictable. Earth's fundamental processes are majestic, terrifying, and unpredictable. Fact. You can take that to the bank. What are you going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? Why am I talking about it? Because, folks, I'm trying to prepare you for what's going to happen. That's why. As the crack that you see here in front of you today, as it continues to expand and the ground trembles ever so slightly beneath millions of our feet, the pressure within the fault builds, not just within the earth, but in the minds of those who live at the top of it. This moment, suspended in tension, holds the weight of centuries of geologic time and human anticipation. The San Andreas Fault has whispered for decades. Occasion will give us a large, a moderate, or a small quake. But now, the San Andreas Fault and other faults around it are shouting to us. The increasing strain is detected along the San Andreas Fault has also triggered deeper inquiry into its historic seismic significance and its seismic cycles, particularly focusing on Paleozoic evidence that might shed light on current developments. Yes, Paleozoic. Gone back anciently, guys. Scientists are now re-examining soil layers, sediment disruptions, and fossil displacements. All these along the fault's path to understand previous patterns of earthquake behavior leading up to a major rupture. This detective-like forensic style, a geological analysis, offers a real-time lapse picture of catastrophic episodes recorded not by human observation but by the Earth itself. These ancient signatures are often buried beneath layers of sediment, and they only become visible through detailed trenching. Scientists out there digging along the fault, I've seen it happen. Detailed trenching and subsurface imaging. Deep penetrating radar, deep underground penetrating radar. Early results have indicated that the last significant rupture in the now critical southern segment of the fault was not a standalone event. Let me repeat that. Early results have indicated that the last significant rupture on the San Andreas Fault in the now critical southern segment of the fault was not a standalone event, but it was part of a sequence, possibly triggered by adjacent stress zones, other earthquake faults, suggesting that today's seismic disturbances could be a preamble to another multi-complex fault rupture event. A complex multi-fault rupture event. Think about that. Yes, we've talked about adjacent fault lines being involved. It's going to happen. This could be a preamble to another huge, complex, multi-fault rupture event. Interesting enough, the latest analysis includes input from not just geologists on the ground, but marine geologists as well, who are examining offshore fault extensions beneath the Pacific Ocean. These undersea segments are often overlooked due to their inaccessibility, yet these same segments play a very crucial role in the regional tectonic network. Recent sonar mapping and ocean bottom seismograph readings have revealed that tremors have been recorded under the seabed are mirroring those same tremors inland. Tremors on the seabed are mirroring those tremors inland. We've seen that in the Cascadia. We're seeing it in Southern California as well. Such synchronizations in seismic signals suggest interconnected fault systems operating in concert rather than in isolation. Let's talk again about the Rose Canyon Fault that comes off the Newport Inglewood Fault and travels under the sea, under the Pacific Ocean, all the way down into San Diego County. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. This expands a zone of concern far beyond the public typically associates with the San Andreas Fault. Other faults could be triggered as well. This pulling coastal and even underwater geographies into the sphere of risk. New technologies have been deployed to track these developments with unprecedented precision. Swarms of autonomous sensors up and down the fault zone, up and down the ocean bottom. About 3 or 4 years ago, we talked about the University of Oregon putting out 55 seismographs off the Oregon coast. They have not revealed the location nor the imaging from those seismographs. They've not shared that with any of us. But seismographs have been put on the ocean floor up and down the coastline. Now, these autonomous sensors, both land-based and aerial, in the sky, in space, those sensors are relaying real-time data to centralized systems that analyze patterns and using machine learning algorithms. Hello, Brokefish, and we appreciate you being here. The systems that we're talking about are trained to detect anomalies that precede seismic events, such as subtle changes in electromagnetic fields. Sudden changes in electromagnetic fields. How's that possible? Every time we have a planetary alignment, the planetary alignment puts out electromagnetic radiation that comes here to the surface of the Earth. It heats up the plates, it heats up the faults, causing earthquakes and causing the tectonic plates to move. Yeah, electromagnetic radiation, electromagnetic fields, ground sensitivity, and even radon gas emissions. Yes, radon gas emissions. What does that tell you? Magma down beneath the Earth. Or I shouldn't say beneath the Earth, but down in the crust of the Earth. Gas emissions. Several of these indicators have already been triggered in recent days, further supporting the urgent rationale behind the USGS red alert. What is the most significant is the volume and consistency of these indicators. What is most significant is the volume and consistency of these indicators, these sensors, across a wide geographical spread. This is not a localized fault zone that's experiencing tremors. It is an expansive seismic system, lighting up with distress signals across hundreds of miles. Imagine distress signals lighting up across hundreds of miles. That's what the scientists are saying. Geochemical markers. They too have contributed to the growing body of concern. Deep boreholes drilled into faults adjacent systems. Deep boreholes have been drilled into the ground adjacent to the faults. These boreholes are important. Why? Because the sensors in these boreholes have detected a spike in helium-3. Just about a week or so ago, we talked about helium-3. Why do we have helium-3? Yes, Charlene, magma does have an electronic charge. That is why we see very low frequency changes in magma. The seismographs have detected very low frequency changes in magma. We show you those on the seismographs. When we have a large flow of magma into the volcano, heavy duty flow under pressure, we see heavy duty flow on the seismographs, indicating that magma is racing under pressure into the volcano. That's why we show you those. But now we have also helium-3 detection. Why? Because this magma is coming from the center of the Earth. The magma at the center of the Earth carries helium-3. Now we're seeing those helium-3 isotopes in deep boreholes. We're seeing them in magma, erupting volcanoes around the world. Helium-3 isotopes come from deep within the core of the Earth. When we see these readings, we have to stop and realize that these readings came to the surface recently in the magma. Helium-3 isotope came in the magma. These rare gases typically originate from deep inside the Earth's mantle. They only reach the surface with deep fractures when deep fractures occur. Deep fractures, earthquakes. These isotopic abnormalities are a strong sign of significant subterranean disruption, and they rarely appear unless there is a major upheaval underway. The detection of these gases has aligned closely with areas of ground uplift, indicating a vertical component to the fault's recent movements. Ground uplift, vertical component, ground uplift. Vertical thrusting in a strike slip system is particularly dangerous. It's a particularly dangerous sign, as it often correlates with more intense surface ruptures. The ground thrusting, the up and down thrusting of the ground, the strike system, is a dangerous sign because it correlates with intense surface ruptures and higher potential for destruction. The closer the earthquake is to the surface, the more destruction you're going to have. When we have a shallow, strong earthquake, we're going to have more destruction. We talked about this before during these classes I'm putting on for you. Amid the scientific investigations, researchers also probing the atmospheric events of fault zone activity. The atmospheric events of fault zone activity. As we've said before, magma could follow earthquake faults. Thus we have helium-3, sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide gases in river water and around river beds. A few cutting-edge studies have documented that rapidly shifting stress underground can influence atmospheric ionization levels. Atmospheric ionization levels. Sometimes even disturbing local weather patterns. They disturb local weather patterns. These interactions are not fully understood yet, but these anomalies in the in the ionosphere above parts of Southern California have coincided with seismic surges along the fault. Ionization in the upper atmosphere coincides with seismic surges along the fault. The correlation, while not completely conclusive, raises fascinating questions about the breadth of seismic events reach. The breadth of seismic events reach, not just underground, but above the ground as well. That's why we're talking here. And I know we have geologists here. I know we have physicists here. We have geophysical people here. People that studied it. People that not studied it, but have some background in it. The San Andreas Fault is essentially a tension spring. The San Andreas Fault is essentially a tension spring that has been wound over centuries. The fault has been wound over centuries, and it's springing up like this. The Pacific Plate's relentless northwest movement against the North American Plate results in stress concentrations that accumulate without visible consequences for decades, maybe even centuries. Then all of a sudden it releases in a very terrible, strong, deadly earthquake. In a matter of seconds, the energy can be released in an explosive event, a movement that reshapes entire landscapes. It's this unpredictable release mechanism that makes forecasting earthquakes so difficult, and yet so urgently necessary. I don't even pretend to forecast an earthquake. I have, however, not predicted but forecasted earthquakes. I have forecasted earthquakes. That's because I've watched what happens. I've watched what happens, and I've seen seismic movement. And as a result of that seismic movement, I can tell what's going to happen. Sometimes I can tell what's going to happen. Now, The red alert that USGS has put out is not an alarmist conclusion, but it is a sober recognition of what the data unequivocally means, and it's pointed to. Further inland, researchers are investigating about how the Mojave Desert and the Coachella Valley, both regions threatened by secondary fault lines. Secondary fault lines. We've been talking about that tonight as well. And how those secondary fault lines might respond to major rupture along the San Andreas Fault. The dry, brittle terrain of the desert in these areas tends to fracture violently because the fracture is right near the surface. The fracture is right near the surface. Shell earthquakes shatter and violently shake. Those often lead to dramatic surface changes, like fault scarps. Fault scarps. Where the land rises, guys, where the land rises, we have a scarp, a hillside, ground fissures, ground opening up, and even sand blows. Sand blows. How does that happen? When the ground opens up, it creates an uplift. It creates an atmospheric uplift. And we actually have a sand blow. In fact, drone surveillance of the region has already revealed linear disruptions in the coastal crust, in the desert crust. Small but clear evidence that stress is manifesting itself physically. These silent fractures, unnoticed by most residents, these can act as precursors to larger displacements, larger earthquakes. Now, an additional layer of concern involves hydraulic pressures. We've talked a lot about that this last week. When we had Captain Ned on, we talked about hydraulic pressures, magma flowing through the crust of the earth, hydraulic pressures within the Earth's crust, in and around the fault zone. Water seepage also. Water seepage from recent rains. Recent rains have penetrated deep in the fault fractures. And as it happens, that water lubricates certain fault planes. Water lubricates certain fault planes, and it can alter the frictional properties of those segments. When the rain and oils within the earth get into those fault systems, all that frictional property, the sand, the dirt, the biological material, it's heated up by the solar flares, the solar radiation, or the electromagnetic radiation from planetary alignments. The same thing can happen with oils and water that comes through the fractures within the earthquake fault. It lubricates those fault planes, causing the earth to move more freely like this, causing earthquakes. This phenomenon is known as fault weakening. It can allow fault segments that were previously locked to slide more easily, acting like a trigger mechanism for quake propagation. Quake propagation. Some seismologists argue that this combination of water intrusion, increasing pressure, and accumulated stress represents a trifecta of instability that could culminate in an earthquake more powerful than any previously recorded in modern California history. Think about that. Think about that. Water intrusion, solar energy, radiation, electromagnetic radiation, and water seeping into the fault, increasing pressure. And the accumulated stress represents a trifecta of instability that could culminate in an earthquake more powerful than previously recorded in modern California or world history. Fact. In urban areas, the architectural resilience is undergoing rigorous reassessment. Skyscrapers in downtown Los Angeles, skyscrapers in San Francisco, and as I said, in San Diego, are built to more modern seismic standards than ever before. But we still have buildings and homes that need to be inspected. They need to be inspected for their actual responsiveness to multi-directional shaking. Each one of our buildings, each one of our homes needs to be inspected. The danger in large earthquakes is not just the vertical bounce. It's not just a vertical bounce, guys. We've seen it. I've seen it. That's why I'm here talking to you. It's not just a vertical bounce of the earthquake, but the lateral sway, an oscillating motion that can wreak havoc on the tallest structures. That's why buildings are on rollers and are on springs to better control that movement. Engineers are employing vibration simulations that go beyond historical data, inputting worst-case scenarios, worst-case ground acceleration values that reflect the current threat level. The results of these scientific studies are sobering. I've been looking at them. Even with the most sophisticated countermeasures, like base isolators attached to the bottom of the building, and tune mass dampeners, the rollers and the springs at the bottom of the buildings that have been reinstalled to detect and also to displace vibration. Even with that, the quake magnitude now being considered today could push existing infrastructure to the edge of collapse. What I'm telling you today could mean complete existing infrastructure collapse. Yeah. Let's talk about emergency response frameworks. Emergency response frameworks are also evolving in real time, with the red alert status in effect. Cross-agency coordination between FEMA, state, and local jurisdictions has been intensified. I believe we're going to see more intensive study with disaster drills. People like myself being invited into communities, into cities, into states, into counties to help reevaluate their preparedness standards. These teams that I have been on have run concurrent simulations, adjusting deployment of people, scientists and authorities, fire, medical, police, sheriff's deputies being deployed to these regions based on changing conditions reported by geologists. Crucial evacuation protocols are being stress tested. They're being stress tested. How do we evacuate large groups of people? They've been stress tested in Texas. They've been stress tested in Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Kentucky, Alabama, Georgia, South North Carolina, Virginia. Stress tested by hurricanes. Now they are being stress tested for earthquake simulation, for real-time simulation. Crucially, evacuation protocols are being stress tested, especially for vulnerable populations, such as hospital patients, elderly residents, and school children. The logistical challenge is staggering, folks. It's staggering. Evacuating even small urban segments in a time of a massive quake or a massive hurricane requires not only speed, but extraordinary coordination. Psychologists and sociologists have been brought into planning circles to advise on public communication and behavioral response. Human reaction to seismic alerts can vary from panic to paralysis, and experts are working to fine-tune messages that are clear, concise, urgent, but not panic-inducing. That's why I am here tonight. I'm trying to put out this information so you're aware of it, so that you can prepare for it. Because it's not if, it's when this is going to happen. Community engagement programs are being updated to reflect new realities, ensuring that the red alert does not merely exist as a line of text on a government agency website, but the alert is put out actively and understood by the common people, you and I. That's why we are here tonight. That's why I have been tasked to put this out to you. Charlene says, we will not evacuate because in such a disaster, perhaps there will be no way in and no way out. No jeopardization of safe populations for those at risk for the day. You'll be on your own. While you might be on your own, Charlene, please do not say you're not going to evacuate. Please don't say you're not going to evacuate if you're given the opportunity. You need to be aware of that. If they give you the order to evacuate, you need to evacuate and evacuate immediately. Don't question the authorities. Evacuate. Evacuate. Yes, Charlene, we are the watchers. We are the watchers. That is why. That is why we are here today. We are the watchers. And I'm putting out the information. I want you to be aware of it. I want you to know what's going on. I want you to prepare your own plan. I want you to prepare your own emergency kit, not just for earthquakes, but for any kind of emergency and disaster. We've talked about this. We've talked about it extensively. Now, while we've been talking about that, Renee Steffi has also issued a flash flood warning. This is because of the monsoons in Arizona. Monsoons in Arizona. There is a monsoonal flash flood warning for Pima, Arizona. Life-threatening flash flood warning for Pima, Arizona and the surrounding communities. If you live in Arizona, you must be aware of what's going on around you. If you see flooding, take appropriate measures. If you see flooding, take appropriate measures. Now, I've been talking to Rob 52, who lives outside of Phoenix. He's further inland. Tucson is on the border of Mexico and the United States, literally. I've seen it, I've been there. Rob lives out in the suburbs of Phoenix, way out there. Developers have built houses in the riverbed. Developers have built homes in the riverbed. How's that even possible? They're trying to divert the river. That's how that happened. They're trying to divert the river. But guess what? If your house is built on the rock, you'll probably survive. If your house is built upon the sand, what happens? When the floods come in, the rains flow, the winds come in, the winds go out, the winds come in, the winds come out, your house is going to go. We talked about this before as well. You need to have emergency preparation on the brain. You need to have an emergency kit. You need to have water. You need to have food. You need to have medical supplies and medical prescriptions so you can evacuate if necessary. so you can take care of yourself when authorities can't be there. Yes, we're going to have earthquakes. Yes, we're going to have floods. We've been talking about preparation. We need to get there, and we need to get there now. We need to get there, and we need to get there now. What I've told you tonight is variable, but it's necessary. You need to get there now. Okay? I ask all of you to get there now. My buddy Sig Sauer is here in the chat. Sig Sauer sent us a donation to PayPal last night. Greatly appreciate it to help Carol get to Salt Lake City. Thank you, Sig. Appreciate you very much. Not just Sig either. We had donations from my family, EMA family members. Gregory and Donna gave us donation. Sig gave us a donation. Linda Covington gave us a donation the other day. Charles gave us a donation the other day. I want to thank all of you for donating to help my wife get to her mother's funeral. She's leaving on Thursday afternoon. Again, I probably will not be on the air either Thursday or I might be on the air late, depending on when I get home. But I appreciate all of you for helping donate to help my wife get to Salt Lake City so she can be there for her mother's funeral. I thank God for all of you. I thank God for all of you, for your help, for the love of myself and my family. I love each one of us, each one of you, all of us. We're part of the Emergency Management Associates family. We help each other. We pray for each other. I ask for your prayers for my family, for our children, for my father-in-law. 88 years old, he's been left alone now. Not alone by his children, but his wife left to be on the other side. May God bless him. May God bless all of you. We are children of God. We're children of God. I told you last night, I read to you the scriptures in Matthew chapter 12, talking about love being the greatest commandment of all. The second like unto it is to love each other as we love ourselves. God bless you. God bless each one of you. Sig, thank you very much. God bless you for that. He says, travel well. Brothers and sisters, I truly believe you are my brothers and sisters. You're my family. Lena, thank you very much for that. We appreciate that as well. Yes, you can mail your donations to us. Our address is going across the bottom of your screen. We thank you for that. We thank you for it. If you donate to PayPal, that's fine. You can mail us a donation as well. I love you. I love you from the bottom of my heart, and Carol does as well. In closing, guys, I tell you that Jesus Christ lives. He and our Father hear and answer our prayers. I know that. He's our King. He's our Lord. He's our King of Kings, our Savior. He died for our sins, took upon himself our sins so that we might live again and return to him. May God bless each one of you. Demon Catman, thank you all. Thank you for your help. Demon Catman has been putting information out all night and every day here in the chat, helping us help our family. God bless you all. Sweet Polly Purebred as well. Thank you so much. God bless all of you. Michael Kearney, thank you also for helping people join as members of our community. I had a program that I put on early this morning about earthquakes and floods. Yes, we have flooding on the east coast of the United States and flooding across the world. Great storms have ripped through the east coast of the United States. Flooding from Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, where I live, in Morganton. This past weekend, we had 6 to 8 inches of water running through the downtown streets of Morganton. This past week and even this week going on. Flooding in Virginia. Flooding in Pennsylvania. Flooding in New York and Connecticut. New Jersey. Flooding now today in Washington, D.C. and Maryland. God bless all of you. God bless all of you. Please do not cross a flooded roadway. If you see a flooded roadway, stay out of it. Don't cross it on foot. 6 inches of water will knock you down. 6 inches of flowing water can knock you down. 12 inches can float a car. 12 inches can float a car. I put that information out earlier. We've seen it happen. The flooded roadway gets undermined by the water going underneath the roadbed. All of a sudden, the roadbed collapses like this. If you're driving across a flooded roadway and it collapses, you're stuck. Your car is stuck in the flood, and you're going to either drown or have a very hard time getting out of your car, getting to safety. If you see a flooded roadway, don't enter it. Don't enter it on foot. Don't enter it with your car. Stay away. Turn around. Don't drown. Turn around. Don't drown. May God bless you. As Charlie is saying here in the chat, be alert. Help others. Be alert and help others. God be with you this day and always. God bless you. May God be with you this day, always. God be with you until we meet again. We'll see you on the other side. Good night, everyone. Much love. See you soon. Good night.